Did you witness any illegal practices?
I was on the floor committee. That would be quote like the police department of the trading floor. I would get into a lot of heated arguments with people when I would see something unethical or illegal, against the rules taking place. But oftentimes, apart from the fines, not much would happen to those brokers. Honestly, it was almost like a part of the game. I'm sorry to say it, but when I say part of the game is I think if you were down on the exchange floor and if you try to do business the right way, the correct way, by the rules, and you saw stuff that was not by the rules, you would get upset at that, and you might challenge it, and you might even fine people for it, or you might even refer the issue to the compliance department. There was just too much that wasn't punished, so to speak, that it enabled people to continue to do, as I said, trade unethically. And you had a choice. You could either do that or not. And if you didn't, and I just wouldn't socialize with them. There was no need to. My relationship with those brokers was just to facilitate fulfilling an order. If they were bidding 50 for 10 and I had 10 to sell, I'm going to sell them the 10. Whether he kept those 10 lots for himself, or he gave them to his customer who rightfully should have gotten them, I couldn't let that bother me. I knew that it would happen sometimes, but I just had that was somebody else's job. That was compliance's job. Or people would ask me, hey, Freddie, didn't you see that? Look what he did. And I might not have seen it. And I would just say, well, there'll be a judgment day, and someday, he might be going to some place that I hope I'm not going to. And I would just leave it at that.
What great deeds did you witness on the floor?
There was this one fellow who traded, and I just think, for whatever reason, he thought the market was going to end up in his favor, and he would, on all the days that he would go around the ring and ask the guys with paper like me. If I had bought, let's say, if I bought a price of 30 on the close, and I was an unfilled buyer, so I had 20 lots to buy at 30. And I only bought 10, I still was unfilled on 10. He might come on over and say, hey, Freddie, can I sell you 10 at 30? And I'd ask the customer, I go, look, you bought 10 on the close, you want 10 on the curb? And the customer would say, sure. And I would tell the other broker, yeah, I could buy your 10 at 30. But that fella would oftentimes trade on the curb against a bad position. So that was one. There was another day. I just finished that story with the Refco 50 lot thing. So a guy bid something for 100, and I hit him. And I hit him on 100 lots, and the market starts coming down. And he comes over to me, and he begs me to let him off the trade, let him off of the 100 lots. And I was able to do so. It was not a customer order, so I was able to do so. There was another fella that got fined thousands by compliance. And when I say thousands, I think it was like over 20. And a bunch of us helped pay that fine. You talk about charities. So there was this one broker who was merciless to me. Oh, he would give me so much trouble. And he was an old school broker, and he would just really bust my chops every day. And when I would see him after the close, he was a different person. He was charitable. He was genuine. He was nice. You'd pass like there'd be a nun on your way out of the World Trade Center, sitting there with a wooden cup with change in it, and he'd slip her $100 bill. And so those are some stories that, people might forget, but they're real.
Who were your mentors?
My father spoke with Paul DeMarco Sr., who allowed me to come down to the trading floor and work as a clerk for him at 79 Pine Street. That was, as I mentioned, the summer before my freshman year in college. And that's when I met his son, Paul Jr. And Paul Jr. and I, his name is Bucky. If you were familiar with anybody down on the trading floor, you had to know Bucky DeMarco. And he's one of my best friends. I love him. And, we talk about ethics. He taught me, I don't know that I've told him this, and I will if I haven't. He taught me about how honest brokerage should be done. And, as far as being ethical, he's my contemporary, but, he was amazing. But his father was really my teacher. And his father he was very good with numbers. He was very good with speed, and you needed speed and aggression, and you need to know numbers. If you had switches to do, and you'd have to, if somebody's offering marches at 30, you'd have to offer Mays at 50, and you would have to know that 20-point differential is what you have to do. And if somebody bids even for March, you could bid 20 for May. And he was so very good at that quick thinking. And, he taught me a lot about that and just being fast. Later in my career, when I got more involved with the exchange and the boards and so forth, it was Harry Falk. Harry was an incredible man, really brilliant. He went to MIT from Queens, New York, and he never graduated MIT because he had to support his family. And when I say his family, I'm talking about his mother and his siblings. And he later became chairman of, he was the head of Zarnakow-Rianda sugar trading, and had great success in the sugar market. And he was probably I think he was probably the most successful chairman and CEO of the combined coffee, sugar, cocoa, NYBOT businesses.